Great to know you're still with us on Earth Exchange, beginning the conversation on the growing demand for electricity or energy, if you want to put it that way. We'll have our development expert in the studio, a face you're very familiar with. He is Dr. Daosa Osamanze. Good morning, sir. It's been a while.
Blessing. Here with you today.
Yes. You're not with her alone here. You're here
Oh, yeah,
with
but
us.
Rumor has it that...
I think this is a debate for me.
Okay.
Rumor has it that you've been globetrotting.
Oh, I don't understand.
That's why it's a rumor. It's for you to confirm or deny. But welcome back. It's good to have you on the
All a
show.
pleasure to be on the show. Good Nigeria, good SOUQ.
Good Nigeria. Yes, we need that prayer, especially at this time when there is a nationwide protest.
Yeah, just as it is everywhere in the world.
In the UK even.
Yeah.
Bangladesh.
Oh, that's the more interesting one to me. Now we have Mohammed Yunus now on the saddle to transition Bangladesh to a new level. He's known to be the founder of microfinance banking in the entire world. That was his dissertation, the professor who put money in the hands of the people. You know, sometimes we read things in the papers and see things on the television. It's like, wow, these people are great. Recently, when we were doing 2023 election, we had to use Bangladesh data to drive conversation. You know, but I met in Bangladesh about 3 or 4 days ago, and he said to me, "Oh, poverty is so much in Bangladesh."
Really? One would have thought that even the very vibrant textile industry would be enough to
Oh, he
survive.
said it's the industry for the big boys. So the gap between the rich and the poor is widening on a daily basis. So that's what has occasioned the protest that now has led to the abscondment of the prime minister who had to run for his dear life.
Ha!
Well, resist the temptation.
Not to sound sexist.
Tissy, I would pretend I didn't hear that because I want to resist the temptation of staying in Bangladesh this morning. But we'll bring the conversation back to the energy issue, which for some would present opportunities, for some becomes a challenge. The International Energy Agency is predicted rise in electricity demand for about 4%. Higher this year, 2024, than what it was in 2023, when it was about 2.5% global electricity demand. And there are several factors fueling the increase in electricity demand. Looking at that, what's your take on this forecast about the rise for electricity demand growing?
I think it's just natural to expect that demand because the world is changing. The way we do things today is also different from the way they used to be. The entire globe today really is running on electricity. Gone are those days that people do things manually, but here technology has grown to the extent that we have to rely on more and more electricity. It was mind-blowing for me about 5 or 6 days ago when we're looking at the issue of the crypto world, the blockchain technology, which of course the entire world is adopting, that the energy consumption of mining alone is almost half what every other thing is taking. So this is huge. And of course, what that also means is that as demand increases, people are also moving away from the coal kind of electricity, although China and India are not likely to move very soon because of the high cost of renewable energy. So you are seeing that the cost of renewable energy is also very high. What does this portend for the world? And I think those are the issues that we had to have conversation around this morning, because the more demand you make, the more costly the energy becomes. Businesses are impacted by this cost. Cost of goods and services likely to increase.
Okay, so we've noticed that some developed countries, you seem to have a more sustainable energy policy. Countries like Sweden, the Nordic region. We also have countries have sustainable power supply, right? But then if you had to take a look at globally, I mean, across the world, how does it vary, the demand for energy vary across the world on a global scale?
I think the level of your technological sophistication
Okay.
will, number one, will affect your demand
Okay.
for energy. Now, when you look at Africa and most of the Asian countries, you find that the sophistication is low. I remember in 2009, we were in the UAE, and my friend was pointing me to something. I said, look, see, this entire country is running on a conveyor belt. There are more life underground that you see above the ground. And these people who are living underground, of course, there's no sunlight there.
Yeah.
So you have to have electricity down there for 24 hours. And he gave me an indication. He said, just imagine a power off for 5 minutes. And you will see the number of people who will be stranded, the number of deaths that can happen. Now, such economy cannot joke with electricity. Even when they had nothing or no need for demand. I remember that in 2011, UAE has to invest so hugely on solar energy so that they can ramp up.
Taking advantage of the sun.
Oh, yes, the sunlight that was available and the technology was just coming. They invested so much, and in 2012, they were able to deliver about 11,000 kilowatts of solar energy. So what you see here is that the level of sophistication of your economy will determine what kind of energy need you will have. So this is the determinant. So when you go to regions like the Nordic region, where of course you find that it's so cold,
and you have a lot of snows.
What happened? They need a lot of heaters. Because if you can't survive inside a room with your duvet, so you need a heater. And it's only electricity that will give you a heater. So this is why you find that there's a whole lot of massive investment in the energy sector, and it's also quite very expensive.
Now, you talk about sophisticated economies needing more energy. Now, according to the IEA, the continent or the region actually responsible for more of this increase in electricity demand is Asia. India and China, because of the kind of economy that they run, a highly productive economy, needing more of energies. And you also mentioned the need for the weather extremes, needing more of electricity. Now, some region you will need to have electricity to heat up your room or wherever you are. Now, in this part of the world, when we get to the very dry season, you would need electricity a lot to cool up the very hot temperature or high temperature as we would have it here.
But I agree with you. But not to say the least that even in Europe, there's a huge demand. There's even above 2.5 threshold of last year. The reason is simple. You see, the blockchain technology, that's what I was trying to say. The mining of coin,
cryptocurrency,
require massive electricity.
You have to be online 24/7.
24/7, even with ice under it.
Yeah.
With cooler. So it requires a whole lot of energy. So where this is happening, you will see a lot of demand for electricity.
All right. So now that the demand is increasing, it brings us to the supply. Is that a problem for the supply?
Well, for the very advanced economy, they don't have too much of a problem with supply. Where you find supply is actually most terribly right now in Asia and in Africa. Not the principal Asia country. There are smaller Asia countries, Pakistani and all of these people. They also have huge demand for electricity that cannot be supplied. So, and even in India, you find that there are local populations right now. They're trying to ramp up. Modi did a great work about 10 years ago when he came, trying to revolutionize that industry. What Modi did was to break up that environment of monopoly of the Indian electricity agency, and then have, like we have here, upstream, downstream, and midstream. Now you also have electricity trading in India, that they're actually also selling power to neighboring countries. But so India is also investing heavily on energy, but they are relying more on coal as it is. But also coal is also fading away. So this is another dimension to it. Now, we as a people also adopting new technology. I always speak to Africa where the big problem is. Because Europe says by 2030, 2050, no more petrol cars. So you are going to be relying hugely on EVs. Now, EV needs to be charged. So for countries in Africa that are struggling with electricity at the moment, that's going to be a huge problem. So how do you charge
Your cars.
your cars when you don't have enough electricity? So that really will need massive investment, especially in Africa, where of course we are undersupplied now. The only country that was doing well before was South Africa, but now it's worse off. Electricity in South Africa is worse off than we have here. Ghana is having a whole lot of issues. They have celebrated 12 years of no power cut, but now power is a problem in Ghana as we speak. So these are issues that African leaders would need to really make massive investment. But we don't have the money to invest. So we also need to attract people to come to invest. But when you look at the industry, the way it is currently governed, just like the electricity, like the petrol industry, people will not want to come and put money in this.
Power players.
Nobody will want to put money because it is underpriced.
Oh.
When you say it's underpriced, how do you mean? Because when NEC approved the hike in electricity tariff, you see how Nigerians have complained. So could you explain that being underpriced?
You see, the truth of the matter is you need to look at what investment gets into generation, transmission,
And supply.
and
Distribution.
What we are having now is that, yes, we said this is liberalized. Generation is still basically government issue. So government is still having massive investment in generation and
This is
transmission.
why we have this.
Even in distribution.
So the cost of, that is why you are seeing that the
With
cost
the
is looking-
presidential map initiative.
Yeah. So if government had to be subsidizing what is generated, and like everyone knows, we have capacity to generate over 7,000 megawatts, but what is currently taken by DISCO is not about 4,000. So you have a 50% that's generated monthly that is not used. That's waste. Complete loss.
What could be attributed to that?
Yeah, but this is a problem because DISCO are not giving electricity to everybody the way they want it, because you have to be able to pay for DISCO to give you electricity. So they are prioritizing where they are going to put electricity to reduce wastage.
But
And
the
of course,
discourse claim that whatever is distributed to them, or whatever they receive, transmitted to them is what they distribute.
No. They are not even taking, they only take a fraction that they feel they can distribute and to the people that are able to pay. So the inability of the market to sustain itself is a big problem. Because if you were to charge, for example, electricity in the rural area, for example, who is already rural poor, they are not able to pay. So DISCO don't want to send energy to those places. So they want to sell energy to people who have the capacity to pay. And that's why you see there is no balance in terms of power distribution. But they don't want to go and buy power to go and put in people's houses who will not be able to pay. And this is the issue. And the worst of it is our inability to actually meter what people are consuming.
Yeah.
So you find that in those rural places, you don't even know what people are consuming. Then, of course, some of the saboteurs who also work as agents of this DISCO go around taking money from people without electricity, disconnection, and all these issues happening within the sector. So that massive corruption in the sector is a big problem. So, but government is bearing huge costs. They lost in terms of energy generation, which we generate and we cannot even absorb, even when we have a need of over 16,000 megawatts of electricity in Nigeria at the moment.
And growing.
Let's look at that energy loss. So what Nigeria generates, it doesn't use as much as it generates because the distribution companies cannot buy that much.
Yes, they're not taking
So, remember this, there's this saying, penny wise, pound foolish. Is that the situation? So is it that would rather waste the energy than distribute to those who cannot pay. What's the business sense here, and what's the development sense here?
The business sense is the fact that if you're selling power to me, okay? I buy from you. Discos are buying. They won't buy and then go and distribute free, because distribution is a cost.
Yeah.
You get it. So if I say, okay, Nigeria is generating 7,500 megawatts, okay, I can buy 3,000. I buy 3,000. Now I'm only able to distribute 2,000. That is efficient and effective. In other words, I distribute this, I can earn money from it. Now, if I buy more than I can sell, I also have lost. So Disco don't want to carry that loss because they are private entities.
Is it that Disco have not properly delimited the areas to know exactly where money can come from and where money cannot come from?
Do I give you a shocker? When NERC recently approved tariff hike for electricity, some areas in Lagos were designated Band A. I know in my own estate, people came together and said, we don't want Band A again. We want to downgrade. Oh, yes. People don't want 24 hours electricity because they want to downgrade.
Because of the cost
Of the
implication.
cost, so and the issues. So people were opting for downgrade. And this is no joke. So, yeah, we want a 24-hour electricity, but it comes at a price. At huge price.
So where does that leave Nigeria in improving energy?
Well, it's a huge problem. It's not just energy alone. We have same problem with gas. We have same problem with petrol. All the conversation that people are having on the street right now, for example, we want the pump price of petrol to come back to 200 naira, which is which of course is not possible.
Why?
Because even at 900, it's still hugely subsidized. In short, I call NNPC magicians, because I don't know how they are selling pump price at 560 or 568 as they sell today. Because I don't know how.
Could that magic not have been answered in the low profit that they declare?
Well, I don't know where the magic is coming from. Except maybe we have to especially audit NNPCL, because I am quite sure that there is something that Nigerians are not being told. Because if you look at the template of pricing globally, you will see the difference. The driver who conveyed me to the airport was asking me, how much is electricity in your country? And I did the conversion into dollar, and I said, oh, it's about 37 cents per liter. We say, wow, you guys are living in heaven. Because in Canada, it is $1.25 per liter.
But isn't that heaven justified, being that the country produces crude oil and should...
So even America that is producing crude oil is selling at that rate. Saudi Arabia, that is one of the richest countries, is selling almost at that rate. If you go to other countries who are selling, they are selling at that rate. Is Nigeria that's the lowest in terms of those who produce? Go to the UAE, it's same rate. So what you are having here is the fact that the reason why people are not investing in that sector is because there's no profit in it. So if there's profit in the sector, people will come to put money. You think we can have oil here and people don't want to invest in it? They are not demands that this thing cannot produce profit. This is what is happening in the electricity sector. Nobody will go and put his money there because he won't get it back. And no investor will invest in an environment where return will not come.
But then, Doc, if I may interject just a little bit.
Okay.
The purchasing power of Nigerians as compared to someone in Canada, I mean, it's going to tilt on the scale if you put them side by side. And as such, the dollar that you're mentioning, okay, he's buying for $1.20. How much is $1 today? Someone gives you $1 note, and you know how much you're getting, even as much as you might not be able to, actually get something out of it as per
Yeah, but I
it's
agree
changed.
with you. You see, but because they also earn in dollar, and take for example in Canada, the minimum wage is $16 per hour. That's what it is, $16 per hour. Now, if the people who are earning $16 per hour and they are asking you and telling you what they are also spending, you will find that there's no green grass anywhere.
All right.
My friend was telling me, and he said to me, he said, please, we are dying. I went to Vancouver the other day. I want to buy a fish, and I saw one fish like this is $100. How are we going to eat fish? So they're also having their own issue because they are earning dollar and they are spending dollars. That is what it is. I was asking somebody yesterday, will you buy an apple for $10 in Nigeria?
Okay, so let's look at infrastructure. What is on ground in Canada and what is on ground in
these are the real conversation. You see, because the opportunity that we lost yesterday is the thing that we are suffering today. If we have invested massively in infrastructure, the time we had money, probably we will not be where we are today. Sometimes I sit down today and I ask myself, around 1967, 68, when President Gowon then told the world that Nigeria has so much money and that we don't know what to do with money. And then we were paying civil servant salary in other countries of the world and just donating, no road, no rail, no housing. So that was where we were. And up till now, we had oil boom through Babangida's days, wasted. We had the opportunity between 2009 and 2013, all the opportunity wasted. We didn't build roads, we didn't build airways, we didn't build any superlative airports. That's what we are suffering today. But these countries have invested hugely and massively in infrastructure when they had their windfalls. So this is the difference between those developed countries and the developing countries. So we saw money, and all we did, like I said to Ikena yesterday, is like we had the Esau mentality. Just give me this porridge or I will die. This is the way we have been living, and this is the real problem that Nigeria is having. You can imagine that the petroleum sector, which is of course generating for us over 90% of what money we spend here, in the last 25 years, nobody has invested in that sector. Even the president of Obasanjo confirmed it in his recent interview in London and said that when he was president, he approached here to say, come and invest in our energy sector. Even the refineries
declined.
And they declined. And they said, no, there's so much corruption. Although we didn't ask Obasanjo why was there so much corruption, and he had the FCC and he could not deal with the issues. So these are the things that, of course, we face as a country. So when you are underpricing a particular sector, there's no attraction for foreigners to come and put money in there. But once people see that the sector is lucrative, people will come and put money. And then when money comes into that sector, what happens? You create jobs, you empower people. Then, of course, the purchasing power of the people also increases. So this is like either we live or die. But here, people say, we cannot pay the price. That's where we find ourselves.
All right. So this looks like the case of the chicken and the egg,
which comes first.
Yes. Because you've talked about investment in the sector,
yeah.
So which will increase employment, so the purchasing power of the people gets to increase. And the reason there is no investment in the sector is because it is not yet lucrative.
Yeah.
Because the purchasing power of the people too is low. So what can be done? And if investment cannot come directly as a way of distributing power to the people because the price is not yet right, but we understand that Africa has a lot of natural resources from which electricity can be generated. what should be done to use what Africa has to get what the continent wants, even Nigeria? That there's sunlight here, there's wind that can be used for wind energy, there's also coal that can also be used for energy. There's water. So the resources are abundant in supply. How do we move from having the resources to having the electricity?
Yeah, these are the conversations which, as a nation, we have to necessarily have. That conversation is not going on right now, because when you sense the pulse of people in Nigeria as we speak, even the elite that are supposed to know very well, those who live in well-civilized and cultured society, some of them on the road now, are telling their people the truth. That for you to build an economy that is prosperous needs investment from everybody, not government. I told somebody yesterday.
Or isn't government the administrator?
Yeah, I told government yesterday. Except for children's clothing and children's items in the UK, VAT on every other goods is 20%.
They pay 20% of the VAT.
Of VAT, yes. In Ghana, VAT is 20%. If you go to all these places, you will see massive lists. What people go to HSE in Canada. People, everything you buy.
Don't we pay VAT in Nigeria?
We are paying. But what I'm saying is that we are still doing 7.5%.
Oh, yeah.
Can we also equate the value that they get after paying those taxes?
The value is value anywhere. When you pay VAT, you pay VAT.
No, I'm talking about what citizens get in terms of what is being done with the money.
What we are doing with money, these are the things that we as a people would need them to really sit down. Because when you are asking your government to do S, you must also be thinking, on the other hand, where will the funding come from? You see, you say, okay, go ahead, subsidize petrol. Like the conversation is on the street now. Now let government go ahead and subsidize petrol. Then they are not able to pay the civil servant because they have to pay for petrol. They are not able to pay university lecturers. Then they go on street, you come back again and say, pay them money, Abi? But they're not thinking of where the money is going to come from. So this is the debate that is not making sense in the streets. Because people just come around and tell you, oh, everybody is hungry. Yes, we know people are hungry. Why are we hungry? These are the things that we need to begin to look at the economy of the hunger on the streets. Why are people hungry? Because the economy is underperforming. How will we make the economy to perform? Is when government has to take its hand off some of all these things and allow them to play so that you have people come in here to do investment. Take the example. In the 1980s, what happened? When the cost of living in America and in Europe got higher, people moved their money to Japan. The industry in Japan started to flourish and boom.
Yeah.
Now, by the time the industry in Japan was booming, what happened? Cost of living in Japan, wages increased to meet it up. Now, companies saw that, oh, this thing is still getting here. We can't survive in Japan. They moved into Asia, what we call the 5 Asia Tigers. Money came into Singapore, came into Malaysia, came into Thailand. Now, what is happening in Malaysia? Their living standard had gone up. They moved their factory again to China. If you go to China now, the cost of living in China and the wage in China is also increasing. What does that tell you? That if there's investment in your economy, your prosperity comes. But when you kill the initiative and the ability of people to bring money into your economy, and you are hoping that there's a way government can manage these things and give prosperity to everybody, you are only lying to yourself and will remain in that same circle for a very long time, because our politicians, they only do one thing. They are experts liars.
I guess in the studio said something. You were saying, talking about creating a new narrative for the Nigerian economy, government taking its hands off certain things, and people asking for a change, but not asking how that change would come. And like you said before the break, that because the politicians know to do one thing, which is lie. How do you mean?
You see, if you come to tell me that if you vote for me, life will become very good, I have to query that assumption. How? So, when politicians make promises to us, which we see in campaign, they resist the hope of people where there seems to be no hope, without telling them what the cost is to the people. You see, this is what you saw in the last election.
Could it be as a result of the politicians not appraising the situation properly?
Now, let me tell you the conversation. In the last election, people sat down in the open, and journalists were interviewing the aspirants. People had complained about subsidy, for example. All the major aspirants in that contest, what did they say? I will remove it immediately. That was their conversation. Now, subsidy has been removed immediately. What is their tone on the streets?
Now,
so does that not suggest to you that these are a bunch of liars?
Again, is it necessarily a lie or a result of inadequate appraisal of the situation?
No,
when
no,
they said
no.
subsidy,
They
could have
know.
been that they didn't think through properly
They
what
know.
to come as a palliative measure.
Let me give you this indication. They knew. These people are not new in this terrain. They are not new in this terrain. The issue of subsidy removal is not a debate of yesterday. You put the cards on the table. Atiku Obasanjo regime, 1999 to 2007, started the sale of assets in Nigeria because they said it was not profitable for businesses, for government to run business. All the major privatization that was done in Nigeria, all the private institutions that were sold, who did it? Atiku was the chairman. So you can't say he didn't know.
All right.
So when he comes out to tell you today something on the street, is that this is an intention. What politician does is that they play on the psyche and the emotion of the people. Rather than tell people the truth that, look, good life costs fortune, and you come to tell them and say, it is your leader that are bad.
Okay, away from that, or not so much far from that, if government is to take its hands off business, off development to allow for investment, would that not be a full capitalist economy?
That is the point that everybody is making. Even in China, that is a communist party, is capitalist in its orientation. Soviet Russia was the founder of communism. Today, Russia is running a capitalist economy. So who tells you that the socialist economy will work? When government does not have factories, government does not have farms, government does not have industries, so how will they be able to fund these things? You need the private sector to prosper. I have said it here, time without number. There's no government that can be pro-poor without necessarily being pro-business. The only way to be pro-poor is to be pro-business, because it's only when businesses prosper that the poor people can enjoy. Now, if you don't create that enabling environment for businesses to thrive, then of course you're only encouraging poverty. And that is what we are doing. Because this social benefit that you are talking about, you transfer 25,000 to somebody in a month, and you know that 25,000 cannot buy a bag of rice. It's useless and it's a waste. So it's a way of encouraging laziness. So what government does is that you create that enabling environment, create incentive for people to invest, and then they employ. Then you who is looking for a job, you can negotiate with your employer and say, well, based on the economy, I cannot earn X amount. This is what I can earn. So you have the capacity to negotiate. And then, of course, if these businesses are prospering, government can take revenue. Take, for example, Elon Musk says 2023, his tax revenue to the American government was $1 billion US. $1 billion US. So what we're talking about here is that you are seeing a situation where we are killing businesses, and then on the other hand, we are crying about poverty. So there's a problem. So we must come to tell the people the truth. And this is one of the issues that I have with government officials. You have to be as open as possible. When Lee Kuan Yew transformed Singapore, the first thing he told the people is either we live or die. Which one do you choose? And they said, we want to live, and then allow me to lead you and follow me. So you don't come to tell people, I'm promising you a Dorado. I'm going to build air condition on the street when you know you don't have the means to do it.
All right, before we move away from the energy talk to something renowned that's just happened. So now that there is increase in electricity demand, and from what we've been able to establish on the show discussing about this, is that for less sophisticated nations, that demand may not be a problem because the sophistication is actually directly proportional to the electricity demand that they would need.
Yeah, but we cannot run away from that demand because technology has made the world a global village. TC may be doing Bitcoin now, you don't know. So he has a mining infrastructure in his house that needs electricity. So the demand also will increase because we cannot divorce ourselves from the global trend because we are in a village right now. So this technology is also spreading. And that is why we need to ramp up all the things that we have to concentrate and invest in that sector. Because without energy, the world cannot move.
So how will this impact the energy market? Would this lead to increase in cost of energy because the demand is rising?
Yeah, you see, this is what I'm talking about, right pricing. You see, there's this balance they say in the local market.
I'm talking about the global energy market.
You sell as you buy. Abi? So everybody sell as they buy. It's a simple mathematics. And it has a ripple effect. If the cost of energy gets up, what happens? The cost goes down to the retail chain. Yeah, end user. And then end user is also selling something. And this is what we're talking about. So when we are buying yam 10,000, it's not because there's gold in the yam on the soil. The tuber of yam is 10,000 because the farmer is selling it more expensive than he used to sell. So it's making more money. So nobody is really losing if people are doing something. So what we need to encourage is that people become more hardworking. People now also need to see where they can also align. And this is one of the problems that I have been saying here on this studio. If there's anything I feel where the reformation of Nigerians have to start from, is this functional education we talk about, where we teach children in school politics, and they don't know how to contest election. We teach them economies. They don't know how to multiply resource. We teach them accounts. They don't know how to balance books. That education has to end. So that when people go to school, and what they did is mechanical engineering, they should be able to manufacture a car engine. Or even an engine for grinding pepper. It's as simple as that.
Well, it will be historic to see our curriculum move from what it is now to, a more developed system in tandem with what's obtainable globally. And of course, it was also very historic that Femi Wash, owners of SOUQ News Television and I 104.9 FM, signed a memorandum of understanding with Nigerian Natural Medicine Development Agency, and one aim, which is to foster the activities of the organization in the development of natural medicine and to also beam the searchlight on the activities of natural medicine practitioners. We had you there, Dr. Idahosa, at that event. Of course, the DG, talking about Professor Martins Emeje, was full of praise for SOUQ News Television and, of course, the upcoming radio station in anticipation of what work the platform is going to do when it hits the airwaves. You affirmed that the activities of NMDA, right, is one worthy to be talked about and to show to the world. Can you, bring us up to speed with what transpired at the event and what this partnership would be, delivering?
You see, etc. It's quite amazing that, like they say, you are in the middle of the water
And soap is in
and
your
the
eyes.
soap is in your eyes.
I knew you were going to say that.
Of course, when you have an elder in the house, what do you expect?
So this is the situation where we find ourselves. The Nigerian Natural Medicine,
Development Agency.
no, economy
Okay.
is a multi-trillion-dollar economy. If we do what we should do. Today, everybody travel from here to India.
Medical tourism.
We have to go to India, not America. Why? Because Indians had developed that sector. The Chinese had invested in that sector. Only Africa is living with a very horrible mindset, conditioned by the big farmers in the world to continue to send to us remedies that are not good. Whereas nature has endowed us with curative medicines, not just treatment, curative medicine. And they tell us and say, it's not standardized. What, how do you standardize something?
I think that's the job of NAFTA.
Not just NAFTA, our educational institutions.
Okay.
So rather than our colleges specializing and aligning with what nature has given to us, we are busy replicating what has been done elsewhere. What we call orthodox medicine in Nigeria is the medication that is natural to the West.
All right.
They develop it and they are using it. And here, we have herbs. We all grew up in the village. You can't tell me, as somebody who grew in the village, that these things are not efficacious, that they don't have dosages. It's not correct. So all that we needed to do was to study this thing objectively, package it very well, and sell it to the world. There's a village very close to my community. All they specialize is orthopedics.
Okay.
No matter how cracked your bone is,
They will set it.
they will reset it. They don't amputate. The world will be very happy to have that recipe to orthopedic challenges. And we can sell that to the world and earn so much dollar from it. So that's why we were so very happy to partner with the Nigerian National Orthodox Medicine, Natural Medicine Agency to see how to project this industry, this multi-dollar weighting industry, so that we can unleash it and sell this thing to the world. That what God has given to us is not just petrol or gas in our soil, that God also gave us curative substances. And we should study it effectively and use it for the good of humanity.
So what are the expectations from this MOU sign? What should viewers expect to see as a result of this partnership between Femi Watch Limited, owners of SOUQ News, and IEA FM? What
we are going to be doing is to see how to present to the world, especially to Nigerians and our audience, those remedies around you that you don't need to even go too far and know what herbs are close to you, what they are used for, and look at some of the innovations that the agency is pioneering. As we speak, they have been able to produce in the last 1 year over 4 different types of supplements that are made from materials from this. So we have to showcase this to the world and sell it so that the people can embrace it. They look at the technology behind it, that these are not just concussions. They see the work that's happening in the laboratory, all the testing and all the standardization process. This is what we will be beaming live to the world.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.